appreciate you guys taking up the time to learn a little bit more about CAPL. As Brett mentioned, this is the second part of our CAPL webinar series. So if you missed last week, I'll do a little bit of a recap, kind of explaining what CAPL is. And then we'll be going through some more practical stuff with you, incorporating the protocols and all of that. So we'll just get started. So again, if you missed last week, so my name is Stacey Alpous. I work at HALO out of the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario in Ottawa. If you'd like to check us out on our website, you can do so at the link below. Basically, we are a group that looks at children and physical activity research. So you name it, we probably do research in that area if it relates to kids. So we do maternal health, sleep, behavior, obesity, nutrition, physical literacy, all kinds of things. So if you want to check us out and kind of learn more, you can do so. And you can also check out our Twitter handle and find out more information there. So the agenda for today, I'm going to go through oh, sorry guys, there we go. We're just going to go through the physical literacy definition with you. So if you missed last week, you'll get the definition that way, and then we'll just review the CAPL domains, how CAPL can be organized. Then we'll go through how to set the scene. We'll be joined by High Five representatives to kind of go through a video that we've done with you, for you. And then we're going to go through the CAPL protocols and then just give you a little bit of a summary at the end. So this way you'll have a better understanding of how CAPL runs and what it encompasses. Okay, so the definition of physical literacy. So back in June, we actually, Canada actually came out with a consensus statement on physical literacy. So we've actually adopted the International Physical Literacy Association definition, which is physical literacy is the motivation, confidence, physical competence, knowledge and understanding to value and take responsibility for engagement in physical activities for life. So if you'd like to go to ParticipAction's website, you can actually endorse the consensus statement and find out more. This was brought together by a number of groups working in physical literacy, so it's great that we have a common definition that we can now go to for physical literacy. So I'm going to talk about CAPL in relation to this definition as we move forward. So just a reminder, CAPL domains, they actually match the definition quite clearly, so I'll just go through what that means. So the definition is up on this slide here, and then I've just kind of color-coded what parts of the definition match up with our domain. So if you joined us last time, you'll remember that we have 4 domains that are related to CAPL. So we have motivation and confidence, knowledge and understanding, physical competence, and daily behavior. So as you can see, each aspect is related to the physical literacy definition. And just as a quick reminder, the way we kind of look at CAPL and domains of physical literacy, the 3 in the center are kind of what is necessary for you to actually have the daily behavior component as well. So that's kind of why we have created the model in this fashion. So we'll come back to each of these domains as we talk about the protocols a little bit later. So how is the CAPL organized? So if you guys remember from last time, we just kind of spoke about how we developed CAPL, just kind of give you a brief overview of what protocols were going to be involved. So now we're actually going to go through how you can administer those protocols in your own program. So kind of give you a way of what that will look like. So how long is the CAPL? That is the million-dollar question. So it can be completed in one session or over multiple sessions. We wanted to create a lot of flexibility with CAPL, so it really depends on how much time you have and how much time you want to spend using the CAPL. So we have some time estimates here on the screen for you, so you can have an idea of what that would look like. So the pedometer is actually the longest protocol we have in our assessment, and that would be where the child would wear the pedometer for 7 days. So obviously you don't have to be with the child for that 7-day period, but they would be using the pedometer for that amount of time and going through the protocol for that amount of time. That being said, the other protocols can actually be done in 90 minutes. So if you have, let's say, 25 children and 5 appraisers, you can actually go through all of the CAPL protocols in that amount of time. If you have, let's say, just 2 children and you're 2 appraisers, and again, the 2 appraisers would only be needed for the Kansa, or the obstacle course protocol, you'd need about 60 minutes to go through those 2 children. So it really depends, and you can actually incorporate it over multiple sessions, as I mentioned, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. But just to give you any idea that it's, while it is a very comprehensive assessment, it doesn't take as long as people think. It's just a matter of figuring out how you want to go about it with your own program. So just to give you guys an idea of what each day would look like if you broke it up over 2 sessions. So the first day you could have something like 3 stations. So you'd have the obstacle course, the plank, and the anthropometric measurements. And we'll actually go through in the high five video how we would have potentially a 4th station as well. That way you can have something that the kids can do not related to the assessment that would be fun and related to physical activity. For just the purposes of our webinar today, I've just listed the protocols as stations, but as we'll see in the video, it's really important to have that 4th station to allow the kids to do something just not related to testing, or they're not being assessed for. So just keep that in mind, but just for the purposes of this, we'll just talk about the protocols. So again, station 1, you would have the obstacle course. For this, you'd need 2 appraisers, and then you'd have station 2 for plank. You would need just 1 appraiser. And then station 3 would be the anthropometric measurements, only needing 2 appraisers for that. And then day 2, you would have, again, 4 stations, so 3 with the protocols for CAPL, and then a 4th station for another physical literacy activity. The first station would be the pacer, so you would need 1 appraiser for 5 children. That way you can just keep track of which children are finished the running component, just easier to keep track that way. Station 2, you'd have actually 2 protocols. So you'd have sit and reach and grip strength, and then you would need about 1 to 2 appraisers for that, just depending on the comfortability of, or how comfortable the assessors would feel. And then for station 3, it would be questionnaires. So this, it would again depend on how comfortable your appraisers were. 1 to 2 appraisers would be good for, let's say, 25 to 30 children, but if you have more, that's always best. That way you can give children a little bit more of individual help and support. And then again, a 4th station, which could be a physical literacy activity that we'll kind of go through with the high five video. So here we have 3 stations listed, but again, having that 4th one on each day is really important as well. So again, each day takes about 60 to 90 minutes. And it just depends on how you want to set it up. So again, in a few slides, I'll give you a little bit more of an idea of how else you can set up CAPL. Oh, and just a reminder for this slide as well, the pedometers would be given out on the first day and then collected 7 days later. So if it works for your program, you can actually have day 1 1 week, and then day 2 would be actually the 2nd week. That way you can collect the pedometers 7 days later, and it's a little bit easier for you that way. Okay, so this is an example of how you could administer CAPL over the course of a week, and then following day the next week. So let's say day 1 would be Monday. So this would be for children, 25 to 30 children. You'd need about 1 to 2 appraisers for each day. So day 1 would be questionnaires. That would take about 30 minutes of your time. And then you would hand out pedometers after the questionnaires are filled out. About 10 minutes to do that, just to kind of go over how to wear the pedometers. And you'd actually need no gym space for this portion. You could actually do it at a desk, or you can even have them fill out the questionnaires at a computer if you have that available to you, or iPads, whatever you have available, but no gym space required. So then if you look at day 2, which would, for example, be a Wednesday, you could do the obstacle course. So this would take about 20 minutes of your time. Then you go through the beep test or the pacer test. And again, we haven't incorporated another activity in this example, but again, just a reminder, it is always a good idea to have another physical literacy activity that children can do, especially during the beep test, which we'll talk about, just so if they finish running, then they have another activity to go to. So when looking at this, always remember you might want to have a third activity ongoing. So this one you would need gym space. About 2 appraisers are required for the obstacle course, 1 to time and 1 to score. So this would take about 30 minutes of your time again, just depending on how long the beep test would go. And then day 3, you can actually have waist circumference, grip strength, flexibility, and then no gym space is actually required for these measurements. You would probably just need maybe a classroom size room, and then something that you can use for privacy purposes for the waist circumference measurement. And then if you wanted to have another activity set up, you could definitely incorporate that. And then if we look at day 4, which is the following Tuesday or any other following day, you can have plank, height, and weight. And then no gym space is required for these as well. It is preferred for the plank just because it's easier to put a mat down for those that protocol. But if you don't have a gym available to you, you can definitely do it in another area like a classroom or a hallway. And then height and weight, again, just something like an area that's a little bit more private. That way you can administer the protocols and make sure the child feels comfortable as well. And then at this one, you would collect the pedometer. That would take about 5 minutes of your time. So just to give you guys an understanding of how you can set it up, usually when I've done the CAPL, we do it over the course of 2 days. So we will actually go through all of the protocols with the children in the gym over 1 day, and then we'll actually come in a second day to do the questionnaires with them and then collect the pedometers as well. So it really depends on how your organization is set up and how you actually want to go about administering CAPL. So just to give you guys examples of what you can do. Okay, so this slide is just a quick overview on what we recommend and what training is needed to use the CAPL. So as was mentioned in our previous webinar, the materials for CAPL are actually free and available online. So what we say you need is to review the training manual that we have online. That way you have an understanding of each of the protocols, you know how to administer them and how to score them. And then you can actually review the training materials online as well, so that gives you a visual on how to go through the protocols. And then practice the assessment until you feel competent. It's one thing to just go through the manual and to watch the videos, but it's another thing to actually go through the protocols. So that's why we kind of, especially with us at Halo, when we set up things with students, we have a practice day, if you will, just to give them a chance to practice without children, and we kind of do that ourselves. So, you know, with your staff, you can set up a training day, and it doesn't have to be very long. Ours are usually about 30 minutes or so, just to go through the protocols and make sure they feel comfortable using it. And then the training we recommend, this again is going to vary depending on your organization, but we just kind of put these in our manual just to kind of give you a baseline. We recommend a valid standard first aid, CPR training, which is pretty standard for most organizations. Also the valid police record check. And again, each organization is responsible for ensuring the appraisers are appropriately trained. So it really depends on what your organization requires. These are just guidelines that we have, or example guidelines, if you will, that we've given to you just to give you guys a starting point. But if you go through each of the manual and the training materials, and you have a practice day, you should feel competent to actually go through CAPL. And I'll go through all the protocols with you today, so kind of giving you guys a little bit of a baseline for your training, if you will. So yeah, I guess we'll move on from there. So again, we just want to make sure that you guys are aware that CAPL offers flexibility. So although I kind of showed you how we would set up CAPL over 2 days, over a week, those kinds of things, we want to mention that each domain and each assessment protocol can be used independently, or you can use everything together to calculate an overall score. So you don't actually need to use all of the protocols in CAPL. You can pick and choose which protocols you want to use. It really depends on what you want to look at. And we did a good job in the first webinar, I think, outlining if you wanted to look at certain aspects of physical literacy, which protocols you need to use. So you can go back and check out that webinar to find out more. But essentially, we wanted to make sure that each organization that used CAPL had the flexibility to do what it wanted with CAPL. We didn't want to kind of constrain everyone to use the whole CAPL protocols. We wanted to make sure that you had the ability to pick and choose depending on which portions your organization felt comfortable with and those kinds of things. So that's really important to note that you do not need to include everything. You can do whichever protocols make sense for you and your organization. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to show you how to set the scene. So for this, I'm actually going to be joined by our High Five representative. So I believe it'll be LJ Bartle, who's actually going to speak to you guys today about High Five. So she's going to come on the line, I think. I'll just give her a brief introduction. So LJ, so as the director of the High Five National Standard, has been overseeing the implementation of High Five since 2007. Is being used by hundreds of organizations in a variety of sectors, including recreation, sport, education, and public health, to implement and measure quality programs for children. So LJ sits on a number of national committees focused on children's mental health and physical activity to help promote proactive and preventative approaches to healthy child development in sport and recreation. And High Five National is a division of Parks and Recreation Ontario and has authorized providers across Canada. So we were lucky enough to work with High Five to create a video for you guys, which LJ is going to introduce a little bit later. But I'll let her kind of go through that with you. So welcome LJ on the line. Thank you, LJ.
Thanks, Stacey. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we can.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and Stacey, I will count on you to move my slides forward as well.
Yes, you let me know. Right now we see what is High Five.
Perfect.
Slide.
All right, I think it won't be too difficult to figure out. So thanks everyone for joining today, and we're really happy that Halo has asked us to help with this project. Also on the line from High Five is Tia Winter, who's a High Five National Manager. So she is also here to answer questions if needed. So if anyone isn't familiar with High Five, it is Canada's only comprehensive quality assurance standard for children's programs. So we work with a number of organizations, anyone running programs for children, whether that be in sport or recreation or health or education, to help them ensure a positive experience. And why this matters, as you will see on the next slide, is that people are more likely to stay active for life if they have a positive experience as a child. So we want to ensure that every child has a positive experience so that they will continue to stay active for life, because physical activity has benefits both physically and emotionally. So the High Five principles and design guidelines are based on research that shows that if all of these things are present in children's programs, the child is more likely to have a positive experience. So just briefly, the most compelling element that needs to be there is that there is a caring adult, and that caring adult ensures that the child knows that they are cared for and are feeling safe emotionally and physically with them there. They will be more likely to have a positive experience if they make a friend in the program. They also should be able to have an opportunity to play in structured and unstructured environments. We want them to master a skill, and we want them to participate fully. And that means being engaged all the time, not standing around waiting in line. The design guidelines mean that each program element should be developmentally appropriate. It needs to be welcoming of diversity and uniqueness, and it needs to be safe. And for High Five, we mean safe both physically and emotionally. So the quality framework that High Five has been built on means that there's training, there's assessments, there's policies, procedures, and there's awareness. So all of those pieces work together to ensure that an organization who's running programs for children have all of the necessary elements to be able to offer that quality experience for a child. So High Five being a quality standard and having some expertise in assessment is a big fan of evaluation and assessment. We want to know that we're doing things right. So we understand that measuring physical literacy is important. So what we just want to stress is that there's a lot of different ways to do assessments, and there are better ways than others to ensure that the child has a positive experience. So that is one of the reasons why we wanted to work with HALO to ensure that if anyone is doing a physical literacy assessment, that they do it in a way that's going to end up being a positive experience for themselves and the children who are involved in the assessment. Just briefly, as Stacey mentioned, we are all across Canada. We have authorized providers in all of those provinces and territories that are listed. And our impact is that we reach more than 500,000 children annually through almost 100,000 frontline leaders and supervisors and managers who do quality assessments. We have 1,300 active trainers in the field, and we have more than 350 registered organizations. A registered organization could be like the City of Calgary, it could be a Boys and Girls Club of Saskatoon, it could be a private sports club. So with no further ado, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to watch the video because I understand that there is a bit of technical difficulty, but I think that there's a link. And Brett, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're going to ask them to click on the link and open another window on their browser to view it,
Yeah,
and then come back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's in the chat log function of the webinar, there's a link to a video. So if you want to just click that video, or if you can see the slides, you might be able to click the link that's on the slide. We'll play the video, and then we will stay on the line. Everyone stay on the line. Then what we'll do is we'll share a screen back in 5 minutes post video and go through the rest of the presentation then. Hey everyone, so someone, we just had a question about the link. A couple of them weren't working. That's true. There's one that was posted at 1:27 p.m. And that link does work. And when I say posted, I'm referring to the chat function.
Okay, everyone. So I actually have gone through the video on my end. So maybe what I'll do is I'll give you guys an additional minute or so just before we get into anything else. But don't worry, you can see the video afterwards and we can kind of talk about it from there. But I'll give you guys just one more minute since we had a little issue with the link. All right, so that was a minute on my computer, so I'll just get started. So I'm just actually going to talk to you guys a little bit about, actually before I go, thank you so much, LJ, for the intro to the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, I really recommend that you do. When I talk about the protocols, I'll go through a little bit of what was discussed in the video, but it's really a good standalone just to even just show staff as well and give you an idea of how we can make CAPL more inclusive and more fun for kids. So that's really what the purpose of the video is. So now I'll just go through the protocols and give you guys a better sense of what you'll be doing when you do CAPL.
Stacey, just one last thing. If if anybody it has difficulty and hasn't been able to get it, we'll also have it up available on our website at high5.org later today. So that'll be available if anybody wants to connect to it at a later date as well. And if anybody has any questions about it, we'll take them all at the end.
Yeah, and we'll also have it up on our CAPL website as well. So don't worry, the video is not lost. You guys will definitely be able to see it at other times. Thanks, LJ. Okay, so we'll get started with the CAPL protocols. So the first one I'm going to actually speak about is the Canadian Assessment, the Canadian Agility and Movement Skill Assessment, CAMSA. So I might actually talk about this one in the name of the obstacle course. We've just recently changed the name, so if I use obstacle course, I apologize. I'll try to use CAMSA. It is the same thing. So moving forward, basically the CAMSA is going to measure the fundamental motor skills of children as they complete the task. So what they're going to do is they're going to complete an obstacle course as fast as they can using their best skills. And this is actually going to be part of the physical competence domain. And I'm going to go through it briefly here with you today, but if you want to learn more about CAMSA, you can actually tune into our next webinar, which is going to be November 4th at 1 p.m. And we're actually going to go in more depth on what the obstacle course is, or CAMSA is, to give you a better sense of what it is. But I'm just going to overview it pretty quickly with you today. So the equipment you'll need for CAMSA, you actually need an open space about 15 meters by 5 meters. You'll need floor tape, 6 hula hoops, so the size being 63 centimeters wide, 6 cones, 1 soccer ball, a squelette ball or a softball, basically something that doesn't bounce when it hits a wall, just so it's easier for your purposes, and one cardboard wall target, or you can actually make the target with tape. You'll need to be something 24 inches wide and 18 inches high. And the diagram on your screen is actually what the obstacles course would look like, or the CAMSA would look like when you actually see it being set up. So how to record CAMSA, you'll actually need 2 appraisers for this protocol. So one appraiser is actually going to be the person recording the time while the child is running through the assessment, and then you'll also have another appraiser who is going to score everything using a checklist. So the person who's timing, so the first appraiser, is actually going to be setting up cues for the child while they go through the protocol. That way it's not a memory exercise, it's more of if they actually can do the skills. So again, I'll talk about this in the next webinar, but just to give you a sense of what it looks like. So again, don't be worried that I haven't talked too much about the obstacle course for CAMSA. The next webinar, we're going to go through it line by line, and you guys have a better sense of what it looks like. But for now, we're just going to go super quick. So the next one is the Pacer Shuttle Run, or the much-loved beep test. So for this one, it's going to be part of the physical competence domain, and it's actually going to assess the cardiorespiratory endurance of a child. So this one has been used frequently in gym classes, and we've also adopted it because it is a very good measure of cardiorespiratory endurance. So for this one, you'll actually need a tape measure, gym floor tape, gym space, either 15 meters or 20 meters, depending on which version of the Pacer you use, and then a stereo for with a CD player, or if you have like a Bluetooth, then that would work too. FitnessGram Pacer CD. If you don't have access to this, we can definitely, if you contact me, we can definitely get you access to this. And then 20 cones to set up, as you can see on the screen, lines either 20 or 15 meters apart, depending on your version. So that is Pacer. Height and weight are next, so I'm just going to go through the equipment needed for those as well together. So the height and weight are part of the physical competence domain as well. So the relationship between height and weight actually provides a really good indication of body composition, which is linked to many health outcomes. So what we do with this one is we'll actually look at BMI, again, a very good health indicator, which is why it's incorporated into the CAPL. So the equipment needed for height and weight. For weight, you'll need a weight scale, a smooth level surface for the scale. You'll also need to ensure that children have removed your footwear, so socks are kept on, but you would take off your shoes, and also dress in very light clothing, so you don't want to have a heavier weight depending on if they're wearing necklaces or something heavy like that, or a big jacket. So you just want to make sure that they have light gym clothing. The next one, so one measurement should be taken using a digital scale. So if you have a different kind of scale, you would actually do 2 measurements just to provide an average between those 2. And then for height, you actually need a stadiometer. So that would actually look like this right here on your screen if I go back. So if you don't have access to this, you can actually go to pretty much any gym and then they will have a stadiometer there. So ensure the stadiometer is vertical and ensure children have removed their footwear again and headwear. So not having hats or hair elastics up in their hair. So proper form for height assessment. Weight is pretty self-explanatory, but for height it's a little bit tricky. So what you want to do is make sure that you've lowered the child's head so it's in the Frankfurt plane. So what that looks like is you can see on your screen the ear actually, the hole in the ear actually lines up with the eye in a plane like this. So what you need to do is kind of just tilt the child's head down a little bit so they're at the same level. So just as you see on your screen. Well, the way I do this is I just ask the child if it's okay if I tilt their head. Again, if they say yes, then I go and do that. And usually children are okay with this. You just have to ask for their permission first. And then for the rest of it, you want to lower the headboard until it presses the hair and makes firm contact. And then check to ensure that the child's heels have remained in contact with the floor and that their head remains level. You want to do 2 trials with height because you want to get the differences between the 2 trials. Basically you would get an average with this. And if the difference between the 2 trials is more than 0.5 centimeters, a third measurement is actually taken just so you can get a fairly accurate measurement that way. Okay, so waist circumference. This one from my previous presentations has been the most, I would say, controversial. So this portion, I'm just going to tell you how we go about doing the waist circumference measurement and how it isn't as scary as it seems, and it can be done in a safe and friendly environment for the child. So again, it is in the physical competence domain, and it reflects the deposition of fat in the abdominal area, which is linked to many health outcomes, which is again why we incorporate it into the CAPL. So there is a reason for the protocols we use. We aren't just choosing them because we want to incorporate them. It's because they're linked to the important outcomes that we're looking at. So here's how we would go about doing the waist circumference with a child. So again, very important to start off. You would want to have a private, like a privacy screen or a private area where you can do this assessment to make sure that the child feels comfortable. In my experience, you know, I've tested about, I'd say 300 to 400 children, and I haven't had too many who have felt uncomfortable with this assessment. We always ask beforehand if they feel comfortable, and they can always opt out of the assessment at any time. So just basically the idea is ask every step of the way how the child is doing. So with this, we want to make sure the child stands in a relaxed position, have the child roll up their shirt so their waist is exposed. So with this, we would get the child to do this. It's never the part of the appraiser to ask or to do it. Sorry. So again, it would sound something like, "Can you roll your shirt up so I can see your belly button?" Secure the shirt with the clothespins. Then what you get the child to do is point to the top of their iliac crest, so the top of their hip bone. You would ask, "Is it okay if I confirm that that's your hip bone?" They would say yes. You would just palpate and touch to make sure that that is the area. You would then mark it with a highlighter, again asking for the child's permission to do this every step of the way, making sure that they're involved in the assessment. And then for this, we would just ask the child to hold arms slightly forward with their palms facing in. You would get them to turn so the child's right side is towards facing you. And then you would put the measuring tape around the abdomen at the levels of the highlighter where you've marked. And you'll do kind of a crossover technique, as you can see with the hands on in the picture on the screen. That way you're getting the correct measurement with that. So I'm just going to, again, going through everything pretty here today, but if you want to go on our website, you can actually see a video on how to do the waist circumference measurement in a safe and effective way. So that's just kind of a quick overview for you. So the next protocol I'm going to go through is grip strength. So this is going to be, again, part of the physical competence. We're going to measure static grip strength here, which is a good indicator of upper body strength. The only thing you'll need for this one is a hand grip dynamometer or dynamometer. I always never know how to pronounce it, even though I use it all the time. But the picture is there if you guys want to see what that looks like. So the proper form for grip strength, the child stands in an upright position. The dynamometer is held in the appropriate hand with the scale facing the tester, just like the picture on your screen. The arm should be straight and slightly away from the body so that the hands and dynamometer do not touch the body. So they're just kind of away a little bit. And then the grip of the dynamometer should be between the fingers and the palm, the base of the thumb. So just again, like you see on your screen. And you can just adjust everything to make sure that the second joint is at a right angle. So depending on the age of the child, you might need to adjust there. So this picture actually shows you a better image of what it looks like. So the dynamometer is held in line with the forearm at the level of the thigh. The child squeezes the dynamometer firmly and gradually builds up to maximum force. And then when, this is really important, so when the child exhales, it's important to say the word squeeze. I always do this with the child, but they never seem to want to do it with me. So I always sound ridiculous. But basically you want to say 1, 2, 3, squeeze. And that way they are breathing out when they're actually performing the protocol. So, sorry guys, I'm going a little quickly because I know I'm running out of time. So again, just a quick reminder, you can go on our website and check out the protocols in more depth. So I'm just giving you a quick overview here. The sit and reach is next. So for this one, it's part of the physical competence domain, and we use this to measure trunk and hamstring flexibility. So for this one, you're going to need a flexometer. Making sure the foot surface is located at the 26 centimeter mark on the measuring rod. So that's basically what it looks like on the screen in the picture there. So it's how to set up the flexometer is detailed in our manual. So I'm actually not going to go through how to do that, but basically it's what it looks like on the screen. And then moving forward, you're going to ask the child to put hand over hand, just like our model is doing here, and she's going to push a metal object further as far as she can. And we're actually going to demo this for the child first, and then we're actually going to put them through stretches as well so that they are warmed up when this happens. So that is sit and reach. The next one is plank. So this is part of our physical competence domain as well, and is used to assess the torso-muscular endurance. So the only equipment you need here is a mat that is longer than the child's body and a stopwatch that measures 1 second intervals. So this one, it's a little bit trickier to assess, but essentially you're going to get the child to go through the protocol in steps. So you're going to get them to start on their hands and knees, then they're going to lean in on their elbows and fold their arms so that their fingertips touch their elbows, so just like the picture on the bottom. And when correct elbow spacing is achieved, the shoulders should be directly above the elbows. So they're going to fold their hands together again on the floor and move their toes back so that they have straight legs. So again, looking at the top screen there. And then from there, we're actually going to go into the actual correct body position, which is seen on the bottom of your screen, the picture there. And you can see that her whole body is straight and in line that way. So we're actually going to get the child to come out of the position at this point just to ask them, okay, so this is how it feels. Do you feel how your body is straight from your ankles to your head? Once they understand that that's the positions they're going to have to maintain, we're actually going to start the assessment, and they're going to perform that protocol for as long as they can, and we're going to give them warnings as they go. So if they drop their body a little bit and come out of that straight line, we'll give them one warning, and if they come back into the correct position, we keep going with the timing, but if they come out a second time, we actually stop the timer. And then the other way the test would end is if they did not want to, like they stopped completing the protocol because they were too tired to continue. So this is what to look for during the test, so improper form, so making sure the hips aren't too high. As you can see in the first top left, the hips are very high on that. Also on the top right, the hips are too low, so you want to make sure you have a nice straight line. You want to make sure the feet are together, not apart, and you want to make sure the shirt is also tucked in and not untucked, so that's going to be easier for you as the appraiser to make sure that they are staying in a straight line. So how to record the score, I've already kind of mentioned this, but essentially you're going to start the timer when the child is in the correct position. You're going to track the amount of time they stay in that position, give one warning if they come out, and then if they come out a second time, that's when you would stop the assessment, or again if they're too tired to continue. So the next one, these are kind of our, those are the physical protocols that I've just talked about. So the next ones are a little bit different. So we have the CAPL questionnaire and the pedometers I'm going to mention, and then we're going to finish with the questions. So the CAPL questionnaire, this is going to incorporate the knowledge and understanding and motivation and confidence domains. So with these two, with knowledge and understanding, we're actually focusing on what the child knows. So this is just their opinion. There's no right or wrong answer here, and we really focus on that when we're administering the questionnaire with the child. We just want to know what they think. So their knowledge on physical activity, their knowledge of sedentary behavior, knowledge of physical fitness, and knowledge of safety during activity. Same thing with motivation and confidence. There's no right or wrong answer here. So we're just looking at the confidence the child has in their ability to be physically active and their motivation to participate in physical activity as well. This questionnaire can actually be done online, or it can be done in paper form as well. So if you do it online, it's actually a lot better because it's going to decrease the time it takes to the child to complete the questionnaire, because as you may or may not know, there's a lot of technology going on in the world right now, and children are actually better using technology than pen and paper. So if you have the option to do an online version, I would recommend it, because you're going to decrease time and the errors, and make sure everything is answered by the child. That being said, you can do paper and pencil as well if you do not have the online option. So general guidance for the questions. So a lot of children are going to have questions when they do the questionnaire. So we've outlined some tips on how to answer questions, common questions, and we've outlined these in our manual. But just for you guys today, so if you have a question about a multiple choice question that a child asks you, basically what we do is we tell the child to work out which answers they know are incorrect and see what they're left with. So that way you're not giving them the answer, they're taking their best guess. So if you're asked about all of the different scenarios children encounter over the course of a year, tell them to think about what they did last week. So these are just examples of common questions you might have. And if you're unsure how to respond, remind the children that we only want to know what they think and to give what they think is the best answer. Again, no right or wrong answers. We just want to know their opinion and kind of go from there. I know sometimes some of the questions are tricky. There's one question that asks the child, what is cardiorespiratory fitness? A lot of the 8-year-olds, for example, might not know this, so they'll come to you and say, what is cardiorespiratory fitness? And unfortunately, you can't give them that answer, so the multiple choice question answer would be where you want to go. Okay, so we're almost done here. I'm just going to quickly go through the pedometers. So this is going to be our daily behavior domain. So this is going to assess daily behavior by counting the number of steps taken each day for 7 days. The equipment needed for this, you're actually going to need a pedometer with unique identifier number for each child, a log sheet, and an info sheet. So we use step count pedometers, but you can actually use different pedometers. If you have those available, these are just the ones that we like to use. Sorry guys, all right, so this is the proper form of wearing a pedometer. So the one on the left is actually correct. So you want to make sure the child has the pedometer on the right side of their waist, making sure it is attached to their shorts or pants, and the security strap is attached as well. So you want to make sure that you do not attach the pedometer to a pocket or belt loop the way it is presented in the middle picture, and do not hang the pedometer from the safety strap as presented in the picture on the right. Just want to make sure that it's secure so there's less chance of the child losing it or breaking it. So this one is our log sheet. So I'm just going to quickly go through what the log sheet is and how the child would fill this out when wearing the pedometer. So as you can see, we have a practice day. So usually the first day that we give the pedometer, we actually ask the children to complete that practice day question. That way they kind of get it out of their system that they're wearing a pedometer and hopefully forget that they're wearing it. And then moving on, they're going to record the time they're up in the morning, like in this column here, and also in the date. And then they also record the bedtime and number of steps taken. So we're going to record that in these two columns here. And then if the pedometer was not worn for any reason, so let's say they were swimming, something like that, they would also let us know that way in the column on the right. So daily behavior without pedometers. So sometimes it's not possible to use pedometers, but you can still obtain the daily behavior score by having children complete some of the questions in the questionnaire. So we asked their self-perceived sedentary time and their self-perceived moderate to vigorous physical activity, and those are found in these questions on the questionnaire. So no worries if you do not have access to pedometer, you can still get information about their child's daily behavior. So I know I just went through that very quickly, and I assure you if you want to find any of that information, you can definitely do so. On our website, we have the full CAPL manual available for you guys to view and the full training materials so you can see exactly what I was talking about with the protocols. And I do apologize for going through that quickly. We've just kind of run out of time. So if you have any questions, you can definitely contact me and you can check out the website. So I'll just go through quickly the summary and then we'll get to some questions. So again, CAPL is a valid and reliable physical literacy assessment for children 8 to 12 years of age. You can do individualized assessment options depending on the needs of your program and organization. It has an online database for you to enter data and get results that way, and you can actually obtain scores and create group and individual reports on our website as well. And best of all, CAPL is completely free, so you can actually use CAPL at any time and use our website completely free, and basically the idea is just to give it to you guys so you can use it in any way you wish. So before we end, I'm just going to quickly thank our sponsors, if you will. So I'd like to acknowledge the Ontario Trillium Foundation for their funding for this project, and also for participation for helping us with the project as well and to putting together these webinars. And I'll just leave my contact information up on the screen. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, if we have any further questions, you can definitely contact me here. But I guess we'll stop there and we'll take any questions if you have it. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening in.
Yeah, so awesome. Thank you, Stacey. So we actually do have a couple questions. I'll read them aloud. Stacey, this one is for you.
Okay, perfect.
First of all, it was a many thanks for the presentation, so that's good. Thumbs up. The question is, has CAPL been used with participants older than 12, or are there plans to adapt the CAPL for older participants?
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. This is actually a very popular question. So in our first webinar, we talked about how we developed CAPL. So we actually were looking at a broader age range of 6 to 15 originally. So that's the age group that we did our research cycles with. Unfortunately, we only have valid and reliable data for the 8 to 12 age range. That being said, we are developing other protocols for the older age group. The only protocols that really aren't meant for the older age group in our existing protocol is the questionnaire. So we're actually developing a questionnaire for grades 7 to 9. So we're hoping to put that through some testing in the winter and hopefully have that available once the data is out. But as of now, we only have protocols valid and reliable for 8 to 12 age range, but hopefully in the future that'll change. So thanks so much for the question. Sorry, I don't have a different answer for you.
Cool. And we have one more as well. and it's that the CAPL seems fairly similar to the Canadian Physical Activity, Fitness, and Lifestyle Assessment. Stacey, are you familiar with that assessment?
Is this like the CPAFLA? Is that one? Or are we talking play
Yes.
tools? Okay,
Yeah,
CPAFLA. Yeah,
CPAFLA. Yeah.
yeah.
So the
Yeah, go
specific
ahead.
question about that is that they seem similar. So can you explain how this has been or how that was adapted to assess physical literacy?
Definitely. So again, in our previous webinar, I kind of went through our CAPL development. So essentially, we were taking different protocols from existing batteries that would work for this age group. So that's why it'll be very similar to CPAFLA, because we do have, let's say, CSEP protocols like the plank protocol and grip strength, sit and reach, and those things. So those are actually going to be the physical competence domains or protocols that we use. So that's kind of what makes it similar, but what sets it apart is actually a whole physical literacy assessment. So it's comprehensive. It's not just looking at the physical fitness component. It's going to look at, as I mentioned, the other domains as well, so daily behavior, motivation, confidence, and knowledge and understanding. So while it is similar, it's only similar because it's using bits and pieces that already existed. So we do have different protocols that we use, especially too with the Kansa, which is our next webinar next week. I hope you guys can tune in for that. It's actually going to look at motor skill performance in a dynamic environment as opposed to just in isolation. So that's going to, again, set us apart from other test batteries that are out there.
Awesome. Great. Another question has just come in. Has there been any interaction with CS4L on the development of this assessment, and where has this assessment been used?
Okay. Yeah, great question. I always get asked kind of what the difference is between CAPL and the play tools. So for those unaware, play tools is actually the assessment used by CS4L. So we're actually, I guess, different from them. We are similar to them, but we're different in the sense that we are valid and reliable assessments. So we have research to back up our protocols, so it is evidence-based. We actually got physical activity experts in the field to make sure we were looking at the portions of physical literacy that we wanted to. So that's one thing. And we also, again, look at motor skill in a dynamic environment, which I think the play tools looks at those skills in more of an isolation, so that kind of, again, sets us apart. And for CAPL itself, we've been using it primarily in a research setting, but it's also been in different sectors as well. So we've been using it in schools, recreation facilities, also with children with medical conditions. There's a wide range of organizations that have been using CAPL and are interested in using it. So the idea with these webinars is actually to get it to the different sectors. So we want to focus on recreation, education, allied health, coaching, and healthcare, so that way more people can use it and get more information about the children in their programs and their physical literacy. So I hope that answers your question, but if not, I'd be happy to kind of talk to you a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacey. So there are no other questions at this time. So what we'll do is, it is 2:03, so we will end the webinar now. I just want to make mention that Stacey did talk about the next webinar, which is on November 4th. So hopefully you'll all be able to join us then. Again, thanks to LJ and Tia at High Five to join us for this call. And we will chat with you all later.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time.
Bye.
Thank you.